Albania was the only country in Europe to emerge from the Second World War with a larger Jewish population than before the war. This is because the Albanian people protected and sheltered Jews reaching the country from all over occupied Europe, fleeing the atrocities of the Nazi regime and its supporters. As testified by survivors and historians alike, many Albanian families risked their lives for this noble mission. Jews lived in Albania and Kosovo working as merchants, doctors and craftsmen. In Albania, there are still Jewish quarters to be found in cities such as Tirana and Vlora, where they had synagogues. In Elbasan, there are still the remains of the Jewish market. Before the Holocaust, there were only 200 Jews living in Albania. During World War II, another 2,000 arrived. In Pristina, Kosovo's capital, the synagogue was built at the end of the 19th century, and the Jewish bazaar was the most famous in this part of the Balkans. Apart from their native languages, the Jews of Albania and Kosovo also learned Albanian, Turkish and Serbian. Hounded and persecuted throughout continental Europe, Jews found a rare safe haven in Albania.
I mean, whenever a person in need would knock to a door of a villager in the middle of the night, and he would see that there is a family who needs help, he would bring them in, feed them, give them their bed, and shelter them and calm them down. You'll be sure that, rest assured that something first will happen to me. They will first kill me, and then they will touch you. These were the words that every one of us heard.
The London newspaper, Jewish Daily Post, wrote on the 14th of July 1935, "It has been a month since the Albanian diplomats in Europe have been implementing the order received from King Zog's government to issue as many Albanian passports to Jews wanting to go and live in Albania." According to the documents of the State Archive in Tirana, the Albanian king, Zog I, invited Jews to come to Albania as early as the 1930s in order to assist the development of the country with their expertise. Most of them obtained Albanian visas, and some were even issued Albanian passports. In 1935, Albert Einstein benefited from Albanian hospitality to transit from Europe to America. He stayed in Durrës for 3 days in the royal mansion and then, equipped with an Albanian passport, continued his journey towards the free world.
I had some little experience that I remember. As a little boy, I just went out of our apartment and went out to play on the streets. There was a field of wheat out there, and I was intrigued by the beauty of the wheat as it grows. It was big and plump, and so I went down to the field and took a plume of wheat and looked at the grains, how they grow, how big they are. The farmer noticed it, an old man who was on the field, and came to me and said, "You see, we have guests here, and this is why God sent us a very nice crop this year."
On the 5th of April 1942, 100 Jewish families from Kosovo arrived in Berat, Albania, and 195 individuals went to Kavaja, Albania. A number of Jews were placed in Kruja, Tirana, Fier, Shijak, Shkodra, and elsewhere, the majority of them being employed in local shops, manufacture, and agriculture. In Berat, 38 Albanian families sheltered about 600 Jews arriving from 1942. From Dalmatia, Montenegro, Serbia and Macedonia came 350 Jews, and over 400 from Greece. According to the Albanian Kanun, the Code of Conduct, the Albanian household belongs both to God and the guest. There are two main pillars to explain this level of protection for Jews in Albania. First, it was the Albanian people's solidarity with the Jewish refugees. And second, the friendly attitude of the Albanian authorities, in particular during the period of King Zog I and the Prime Minister Mehdi Frashëri. An agreement negotiated and signed between Prime Minister Frashëri and the German forces allowed Albania to pursue its internal affairs unhindered. In this framework, this government extended its responsibility for the protection of Jews as well. More than 60 years have passed since the end of the Holocaust, but the heroism and humanity of the Albanian righteous among the nations will always be remembered by the survivors and their descendants alike. Mrs. Irene Grunbaum, one of the most famous Holocaust survivors, recounts her memories in Albania with these words. "Goodbye, Albania. You offered us so much hospitality, shelter, friendship, and adventure. Goodbye, Albania. One day, I shall tell the whole world about how brave, loyal, and generous your sons are, putting their lives on the scale of death in order to save ours."
And as the saying goes, whoever saves one human life is as though he saves the whole nation. The fact is that if you want to take a picture of what it means to save one life, these are my children and grandchildren and great-grandchild, which wouldn't be here if it had.
This was truly exceptional. The project focuses on Albanians. In this particular instance, it's Albanian Muslims. And what's remarkable about this is that Albania is this tiny little country in Europe. It starts the war with 200 Jews resident. It ends the war with 2,000 Jews resident. So it's the only country in Europe in the midst of the Holocaust that picks up Jewish population, and they pick them up by offering them refuge. It's really remarkable.
How do they protect them?
They protect them by making them members of their family. By hiding them in plain sight, as we say. They make them cousins, they make them relatives. The government of Albania, they change their names. The government of Albania actually gives them documents. So the government itself is in the process of doing this. And what they use to really make this kind of hit home is an ancient Albanian cultural and ethical code called Besa. And Besa really means to keep a promise. And when you give your Besa, you give your word, you will give up your family's lives before you will go back on what you said. And so the Jews are given Besa. And once that Besa is given, it can't be revoked. It's really a remarkable thing.
That's fantastic. And is that still something that exists in the Albanian culture today?
Yes, it's something that exists in Albanian culture today. It predates Islam. It predates modernity. They think it goes back as far as possibly the Bronze Age. I mean, this is an ancient code that has stayed fairly unchanged within Albanian culture until today.